Patricia is a chef, and every Wednesday you can eat the wonderful things she prepares at the Opera Plaza downtown by the Civic Center. They have a lecture and a dinner, and that's every Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the Opera Plaza. They have a table here today in the exhibition room, so stop by. So today, please welcome Patricia as she talks to you about Harvest Dinner Favorites.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you all. I just want to thank you all for coming out. For those who have yet to meet me, my name's Patricia, as Janet just eloquently introduced me. I'm a nutritionist, actually, and I've been volunteering my time since 2004, starting in Petaluma, my home base, to present these weekly vegan dinners. That's what she's mentioning of, and I think a lot of you have been able to come out and join together. If you haven't yet, you can always sign up at the table event, and you'll receive notification of what's on the menu for Wednesday dinners, as well as who our presenter is. And just a heads up, we have fantastic from Hawaii, Dr. Stephen Blake speaking this Wednesday. And if you don't get to see him here today, along with his wife, Kat, I encourage you to please look them up or come out on Wednesday and get to hear more of what he has to offer. I believe he's speaking about memory. And as well as what he'll also do is, he's just one of the most personable doctors I've ever met. He's just a very pleasant gentleman, professional, and well-grounded in facts, right, for those sciencey folks out there. So with that said, does everyone have a recipe little sheet in front of them? All right. What? Oh, you don't? Oh, no. Okay, I believe we have some volunteers, and we'll get you one.
Okay.
And also, I want to make this a learning environment, so if you should have, Mr. Dave, this is my husband, Dave Koot, by the way. Yes. And Mr. Dave, can you go grab me one of those plates with the little stand? And Dave's just fantastic because, somebody's got to do all this work of getting everything together, so he's a wonderful gopher and help and support on Wednesday night. He's also responsible for selecting the presenters on our Wednesday talks, if you will. So with that said, now does everyone have a recipe sheet? Yeah. And also, as I was beginning to state, should you have any questions or comments, can't hear me, or need me to say, what was that, Patricia, and repeat it, please raise your hand or holler out anytime throughout the program, and I'll be more than happy to address your questions or comments. Now, did anyone want to offer up why are they here today? What do you hope to just get free food, which is awesome? Anybody else? Is there any particular, do you want to learn something? You want me to speak to anything in particular? Just let me know and I can address that. Okay? I know you're saying, hey, just get it started. So, you have the sheet in front of you, and I always like to address these demonstrations. I want them to be easy. And oops, are they vegan too? Why not? It's the best food on the planet for you. It was created for you. And then I want it delicious and nutritious, because if you're dealing with plant-based foods, it's already going to be nutritious and it's already going to be delicious. Well, maybe that's dependent on your palate, but that's really what you're going to have in front of you. So I wanted to create, it's been done in many forms, if you will, but it's an autumn apple elixir. Those elixirs, those like little potions, it's all good in one little swig, if you will. And I wanted to start off with apple, because who in here hasn't heard about how awesome apples are? And I don't care how many times you've heard it, and you have. An apple a day keeps you-know-who away. And it didn't used to scare me, and I use the word scare, but as we all mature through life, it's like, do I really want to go to the doctor today? It's like anything but the doctor, right? And so, but your doctor can be your buddy, but still, it's incumbent upon us just to take care of the gift that we have, and, good food's going to get us where we need to go, right? It's not anything fancy or complicated, it's just here for us already in a natural form. So I have been blessed with a fantastic, prolific apple tree. Thank you. Oh, we'll talk about this in just a second. But the apple tree, you know, it looks like a granny. Any apple experts out here in the? Well, if anyone can identify this apple, see, has a little sapling kind of on it, or whatever they call that. But it's a fantastic crisp apple, and I picked these apples just yesterday, right? And you can, when you bite into a fresh apple, there's just nothing like it. And I encourage you, because there's apples all over this environment, you can just go foraging for wild apples. That's even better, right? Because they're hardier, they've withstood the elements, and man, they're going to give you all that good nutrition right back. So let's get started here. I have here an apple core, because you know what? You can eat the whole apple. You can eat the peeling, which I always encourage folks to do, especially if they're eating an organic meal plan. And then the core, though, it gets a little tricky. Not only is it tough, but then it has those seeds in it. While most seeds on most vegetables are good and healthy for us to eat, the little apple seeds, you don't want to be doing that, because something, is it an arsenic component? It's not really going to help you out. It could really kind of hurt you if you eat a whole lot of them. Once in a while, a few apple seeds, okay. However, you want to core up your apple. So what I did, since you don't want to watch me chop, I mean, we all know how to use a knife, more or less. Or if you don't know how to use a knife, you can use a food processor. Just put it in there, hit the pulse button, it does all the work for you. So I actually have in here about a small apple, about 2 small apples in here. I'd already chopped up. And then I say a half a lemon. Now, I'm the type of person who I don't follow recipes too well, and I want to impart that to you. I really want to impart that this is a guideline. It's really what you want, what your health needs are. Maybe a half a lemon is okay for you, seeds included. Maybe some of that peel for the bioflavonoids. But, you know, maybe you want a whole lemon or just a half a lemon just to zip it up. And, of course, that lemon water in the morning is automatically very beneficial for your health, because it's going to help tonify your liver and help flush things out, because it's like you're breaking that fast the first thing in the morning, right? So you want to get that fresh lemon in your diet. Please avoid the little bottled stuff, either in plastic. It's just garbage. Just go buy a lemon or grow your own tree. And then here, what I'm going to do for you is just put this. Does everyone here have a blender or an access to a blender at home? I hope so. If you don't, we can talk about that later. But this is going to be one of the recipes that requires a blender. Without a blender, I would be unable to make a lot of the foods I present for the Wednesday dinners, just because it's a powerhouse. Like I don't get paid to say this, but it's just, you can put anything in here and it'll blend it up, right? I love this blender. I've had it forever, so I kind of grown attached to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in my chopped apple, along with some water, as it's called for later on in here. And then what else? There's some gunky stuff in there. That gunky stuff is also back down there. I think it's on the, let me see here, warming spice. When I refer to warming spice, what I'm speaking to is anything of a spectrum that is, just warm to the body. It also helps, revitalize your body at a cellular level. It helps keep the cellular walls pliable, so the nutrition from this apple and the nutrition from the lemon can actually get in there and be of benefit to you. I don't know why that's not going on. Okay. Crisis averted. So I put some of that warming spice in there. For this particular recipe, I used cinnamon, and I also used clove. Clove is just, a teeny tiny pinch. And if you don't think I'm kidding, you could put some raw clove on your tongue. Has anyone ever done that or made that mistake? Yeah, oh, shoo! Make sure you have some water nearby, because it's that's a little hot. So there, I've got my warming spice, my apple, my lemon. Oh, yes. And what is this? Berries. Now, I'm using berries in this recipe because I really like the berries. I like the blueberry, any berry, just give me the berries. And also what I like to do, like I mentioned earlier, is I'm not one to use a measuring cup. If I've got to start pulling out cups and pulling out spoons, I'm lost. It's like, I'm not going to do that, because my goal is to not spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I like to live my life. I like to get in there, get what I need to do, and then boop, get out. And that's what I'd hope you would do as well. So here's a little trick. If some of you folks here haven't ever, I don't know, experimented with this. So when I say some berries, you can use whatever kind of fruit you'd like. I enjoy the color of these blueberries as well as the nutritional profile. But here's a little trick that I do at home. I call it the hand measuring test. Has anyone ever put the berries or put whatever food item is into their little palm of their hand and then put it in a measuring device to see how much your hand holds? That was a long way of saying. Do you know how much your hand holds? Any quarter? Who's that quarter cup? Anybody else want to guess? If you're a guy, you got bigger hands. Yes, sir. Pardon me.
2 minutes before you're ready for the thing, just knock on the thing.
I'll try and knock. Okay. Thank you. Am I scaring everybody? Oh, no. So, thank you. So here's what I'm talking about the berries. So I just grab a berry. Now for my hand, it's, what is it, about a third of a cup to half a cup. What I'm saying to you is if you just want to gauge this with some seeds or grains at home, then you have a lifetime buddy of knowing how much your hand holds. That way, when that recipe that you're going to encounter says, oh, a half a cup or a third of a cup, yes, here it is. You already know what's in your hand, as well as when folks try to tell you how much to eat or what you need to eat. It's just a good gauge to have. So I'm going to put this little blueberries here that I already have measured out by my hand. So it's about a third to a half a cup, and it's yummy. And then what else did I have going on here? Oh, yes, the chia seed. We haven't talked about the chia seed. Everybody know about chia seed? Yes. Here it is. Oh, I need a helper to help pass it around. Hannah, can you help? Tell me if you don't want to. Well, thank you. I just want to pass around the chia. You can actually open the bag if you'd like and taste it and see what it's like. That's actually the black chia. There's lots of different types of chia colors. This just means it's a different antioxidant type. You know, mix it up, whatever you need, whatever you're looking for. Just go to the store and look it up. It's all good stuff. Actually, I have a history book, and I learned about it. It's a history book written, I think, about in the 1940s. A woman traveler, broad traveler, traveled to Mexico and really studied the population, just the whole general concept of what Mexico is all made of. And so I was looking through, of course, for me, I want to go right to the food section, like what's, you know, the Mexican food tradition prior to World War II. And guess what I see mentioned? Chia seeds. I didn't learn about chia seeds until 2000 and something. Why didn't somebody tell me about the little chia? So it's very prolific in Mexico, or at least it had been at one time. I've never anybody traveled to Mexico? Know what? Have you guys experienced chia in Mexico? Yeah, maybe. But it's very popular in drinks down there at that time. But it took us like 50, 60 years to realize this in America. And the reason you want to eat that chia is for your omega-3 fatty acids. It's very prevalent because it also is a seed. It goes without mentioning. Most seeds are a powerhouse of nutrition. Because why? Because they're going to support that growth of that new plant. And you just want to take a little bit. Now, I soak those in that water overnight. And, of course, you could just pour them in your beverage and drink it throughout the day. But I'm also going to blend it up. It's going to provide a natural thickening agent that's health-supporting and yummy. So there's your little chia in there. Oh, and then also some folks are ginger folks. Some people like turmeric or hemp seed. It's all good. Whatever your favorite kind of add-ins are, you need to personalize this whole little elixir here. So I'm going to just blend it up, and I'm going to just mosey over here because our helper, Mr. Arlen, had requested a little knock on the door a few minutes before we're ready for our demo. They're going to bring out some actual elixir for you this morning that I prepared for you folks. So it's just going to be as I described according to the menu. And brace your ears. And it starts off slow. Enough of that nonsense. But it does blend it up pretty good. You see it? See it all there? It looks all yummy. And they should be coming out. Yes?
Did you, this is a little hard to ask, but Did you put a pinch of chia in there or a handful of chia?
No. You know, I've done both by mistake, I'm sure. But, and I didn't give you, I used, and this is again for me, I used like a teaspoon. Yes, Marlena, got it. It's a teaspoon because this is like a drink. How many ounces do I have here? 16 ounces. I might drink, it might take me 2 hours to sip this down because I like my mornings to go a little slow sometimes, especially as we move into fall and winter. And I just want to sip on it. If you put too much in there, well, you won't be able to drink it, but you might have some good fruit pudding on your hands. You know, you've heard of chia pudding. I make chia pudding all the time. That's when it's just so thick it ain't going down in a liquid form, but you have a fantastic pudding. Or I also like to make a condiment with it. Yes?
Patricia, is it good for inflammation also?
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's right, because it's packed with power. The omega-3 fatty acids actually help reduce that inflammation. So you're right, and that's why I always encourage folks. I also refer to it as a booster food. It's one of those foods that generally we don't wake up and think, oh, what kind of seeds am I going to eat this morning? But you know what? Yes. Yes, thank you. Anybody? Yes. Yes, thank you for that. She asked about if soaking the seeds changes the nutritional benefits. Here's what it does. A lot of folks just, you know, the little seed might get stuck in our digestion system somewhere along the line. But if you soak it, it forms a little gel packet around the seed, right? It makes it's just smoother, easier to go in and out. It's better that way for a lot of folks. But if you're blending it up in this fashion, then who's ever going to guess? Did you guys get some samples already? I see them handing it out. So I'm just going to pour this in here. I love the color, especially for autumn, or if you're entertaining folks for a party or just a get-together. You know, no one's going to come in and say, oh, I don't like that, because it's fantastic. Now, I would encourage you to serve this at room temperature, or maybe you just want to have it, you know, just chilled ever so slightly, but you can place this in the freezer in molds and make little fruit pops or whatever you enjoy. Just use your imagination. That's all you're limited by, is that. Because otherwise it's just nutrition in a glass, ready for you to eat and enjoy. So did anybody else have any more comments on your elixir? And keep in mind, it truly is an elixir. I feel it's all fresh foods, and you just can't go wrong. Did somebody else have a question? No? One thing I wanted to comment, too, about this particular style, I wanted to demonstrate to you how easy it is. Does anyone think they could replicate this at home? You know, the worst thing to do is to go to that grocery store and say, and then I see all those juices in front of me. It's like all the colors of the rainbow. And I say, oh, I want that one, that one, that one. But, you know, it's all crazy. It's been sitting on that shelf. I don't care how fresh they say it is. But, you know, make it yourself. It's so easy. And then you see what kind of maybe lower quality or inferior product they try to pass off on you. When you make it yourself, you see how thick that is? You could probably add another, 16 ounces of water and get, you know, twice as much. So it's crazy to pay those prices at the store when you can just make it yourself and it's fresh. It doesn't get any better. Anybody think they would make this at home? Or yeah? Okay, and of course, it might be too spicy for folks. It all depends what you want. I just want to encourage you to try it yourself. So now that we got, does everyone have a sample, one? Yeah, pretty much. Oh, yes.
If you use ginger or something like that, would you kind of grate it up first, or?
Fantastic question. I'm lazy. So I am loath to even have to chop up that ginger. It might get a quick pass through on the faucet and then plunk in here. Because this isn't my stomach. I don't have to really chew it well. It's going to do all that for me. So I'm just going to throw it in this blender and it's going to do that work. Yeah, that's it. Of course, sometimes though, it depends on where you get your ginger and how long. I always make certain to smell it and look at it. Sometimes it's prone to getting moldy because the stores insist on wetting everything down, you know what I mean? So just take a good look at it, make certain it's nice and shiny and bright ginger, and then you're good to go. I also encourage you to use the fresh turmeric as well. It's right there typically next to the ginger, and it's just, once you try fresh turmeric, whew, it all changes. Anybody? Yes? I just put it all in there except the core, and that will be my default answer to almost anything. It's just as whole as it can get. It's usually going to go just all in there. Now that we have, yes?
What about the hemp? What does that do to the texture and what is it?
Hemp seed, I'm referring to hemp seed. And once again, it's like that chia seed. It's a fantastic omega-3 fatty acid booster. So it's an area in most Americans' diet that we're lacking in, and it can be fantastic, as Marlena reminded me, it's a fantastic anti-inflammatory. It's heart healthy. It's one of those foods, and it's very neutral tasting. You'd have to eat a lot of hemp hearts. It might be a little green tasting like I refer to. It will also has a bit of a thickening power. It's white, so it depends on the color of fruit or juices that you're using. It just depends on what you have in your pantry, whatever you want and what you're trying to achieve. And like my good friend here, Kathy Mack, always says, she always puts kale. She puts chopped kale in her breakfast cereals. And if you like, I had some kale at home, but I'm going to show that to you next. But you could also throw in a handful of kale in here and mix it up. And for my husband, Dave, he won't even notice it if he's prone to complaining about the kale. You can do that. Yes?
How important was it to soak, soak the apples overnight? Is that just to make it softer?
No, I would typically, I would recommend if I were in my own kitchen making this drink up, I'd chop it up in the morning right before it goes in here. But since I was before you folks, I wanted to spare you the drudgery of you having to watch me chop. I just chopped it up and added the water that was going to make the smoothie just so I could avoid some oxidation from occurring, the browning. So that just kept it. But if you want to keep them, you can do it. I would encourage you, if you want to make this, you can do it all the night before. If you got to get up and go, and all you have time to do is press a blender button in the morning, then you can do it that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's go on to, buckwheat. Buckwheat is my new favorite. It's not a grain, and it's not wheat. Buckwheat garden harvest. I'm not kidding. I think I procured about a 40-pound bag of organic buckwheat. That's a lot of buckwheat. Now, this is a savvy metropolitan group. All you folks know what buckwheat's about? Don't know what it is? Don't care to know what it is? A lot of Eastern European and Asian folks actually use buckwheat. I would like to ask Hannah if she could please just, don't want that happening. These little buckwheats are similar to a chia. It's amazing that we as a population here in America haven't. You know what, Hannah? This one kind of lost its zipper. Can you zip it up? Okay. And pass it, one on each side here. The little buckwheat is a seed similar to the chia seed. And it only takes 15 minutes to cook. Well, that's the same amount as the quinoa takes. And it's such a powerhouse of nutrition. Number one, fantastic source of minerals, including rutin's an antioxidant. I'm just going to refer to this. Manganese, it helps if you can pronounce it, manganese, copper, magnesium, iron. Oh my, I don't know if there's not a week that comes by I don't see someone come up to me who's a veggie or, they say, hey, women typically, and it's like, hey, my iron's low. I got it checked at the doctor and it came back low. It's like, it happens a lot to us. And I think it's because we just get in these food ruts, we don't realize what we're really putting in our bodies. If you need a bit of micronutrient boosting, put the buckwheat in. It's like you get like 10% of your RDA of iron in a serving. So like a 3 or 4 ounce serving, and that's going to go a long way. And it's a powerhouse of fiber, which, I'm big on fiber. Phosphorus, antioxidants. Antioxidants, rutin. Rutin is actually the component that's right underneath the skin of the potato as well. Another reason you never want to peel your little potatoes, because why do you want to get rid of all that goodness? It helps with your circulation system. Rutin also is beneficial, for keeping varicose veins at bay. It just helps bolster those things up. So it keeps you happy and healthy. And then what else? Quercetin. Quercetin is the other antioxidant that you find frequently in onions. But it's also here. It's a good powerhouse here. So I like the little buckwheat too because it's a little pyramid shape. Any folks that cook with kids or, who doesn't want to have little pyramids for dinner? That's all you got to say. And then they get all excited, pyramids. And it is kind of an oddity to look at. So you got your pyramid shapes and, oh yes. So what do we have starting here? You've all seen the samples of the raw buckwheat. Now, there's two different camps. I'm new to the buckwheat camp, but there's an old, ancient way of the buckwheat. Now, I say that because I often look to, well, how did I get here, first of all? Someone brought me forth, my ancestors did. They were probably eating buckwheat. They had their own ways of cooking buckwheat. Now, a lot of folks like to toast it. And that's why I have, I think I gave out my raw buckwheat. But typically you can just, if you like to toast it, just helps develop a flavor. A lot of folks will refer to toasting that little buckwheat as a dextrinizing process. And what you have going on then is it reduces the cooking time. It also helps develop a different flavor or component. It's kind of like a nuttiness to it. However, it's unnecessary. If you just want to prepare your buckwheat, there's always a common course with seeds or grains. Usually it's always a 2-to-1 ratio, right? So what do I say here? You want to bring your water to a boil. Since I've already prepared this, we'll just quickly address it. So you want to bring your water to a boil, 2-to-1 ratio. That means 2 cups water or broth. If I have a choice, I will always default to broth. Why? Because you got more nutrition in that vitamin broth. Oh yeah, if you can, make your own. That's always the best. So you want to heat up your little 2 cups of water to 1 cup buckwheat groats. The groats means it's just the whole grain. You know what? And when you're at the store, buy the groats. And then if you want to make, let's say, buckwheat pancakes, because who doesn't love buckwheat pancakes? You just put it in your blender, the groats, hit the blend button, and then you have buckwheat flour. Yes, you just want to buy the wholest form always, then grind it up fresh. And then you have buckwheat flour, and you can make those pancakes and invite me for breakfast. So, so it's always nice and fresh that way. And plus, you know what you're getting. You don't know, flour's on the shelf. You want to avoid that. So then you want to add your buckwheat, and then just put the lid on it. I didn't put that in these directions. Just add the lid and reduce it to a simmer for 15 minutes. And then here's the tricky part. Here's the part that some of us who are procrastinators like myself, I gotta wait. It's best if you wait. It helps settle and steam and absorb all the moisture. Probably the longer the better, but 30 minutes at least. So if you can make it up ahead of time, it's all good. So then, delicious prepared buckwheat groats. You see, they're kind of brown. And I thought, buckwheat for the wintertime, our fall preparation is a good thing to have. So I'm just going to use my little saucepan here that I didn't have to heat. I'm just put some of this in here. Does anyone have any questions about the buckwheat? Are you guys going to go try buckwheat? I guess you got to try some of this first. I hope if you haven't, it's just a travesty here in America. We haven't had to taste as much buckwheat as we should. Yes, sir?
The question is the ginger in the one you made?
No.
No. Sure?
I'm positive. He's asking if there's ginger. There could have been ginger, but I prep food for folks, and I swear I've met all different types of folks. And I have a guy who doesn't like ginger, so I kind of get out of the habit of having and using ginger in the drink, but I didn't use it this time. So here, you've got your prepared, yes, sir?
So in your 2-to-1 ratio, water to seed, does it matter, does it make a difference if you boil the water first and then add it, or just put it in the cold water and then cook it?
Oh, yes, it does. And I apologize, I didn't make that clear. Bring it to a boil, always. Always bring your water or broth to a boil, and then you dump in the dry grain. And then you stir it, put the lid on it, and then zip down that temp to simmer, which means just little bubbles. Yes, sir?
Well, I find when I put my groats in, if I dump it in, it overflows the pot, so I do it slower.
Oh, thank you for that info. Yes. I always try to make certain I have a big enough pot. But the gentleman in the back said, yep, just a slow pour, just like most other grains. Otherwise, if you dump and run, it's always going to be a mess. So I've got my prepared grains. They're nice and yummy. I could have this for breakfast, or we could have it for, like I say, a nice dinner favorite. And then what else do I have going on in here? Oh, yes. I'm going to quickly talk about ume boshi vinegar. This is ume plum. It's frequently used in macrobiotic cooking. It adds a wonderful ume flavor. And what I can say about this, it adds also a richness of saltiness, but it's not salty if you look at the nutritional component of it. It just helps develop a flavor that makes you say, I need more of this in my life. So it's just a salt substitute. As you see here, I'm not using any salt. And then nuts or seeds. In your demo, I used, well, it's fall, so I'm going to use some walnuts, right? Just chop them up, throw them in. I said 1/3 cup. And then what else did I say in here? Oh, the best part, fresh dill. Oh, it smells so good. Anyway, enjoy your fresh herbs. And so fresh dill and then fresh mint too, right? Try to, it's a big world out there. Just get whatever you like and what appeals to your senses. So for this, I use dill and mint. And then, of course, kale. It's kale time. So I have some chopped up kale because it's going to be finely, it's just going to be a beautiful picture of nutrition. I have the kale as well as, what else did I put in here? I think your demo will have some carrot as well, those multicolored carrots because of the different antioxidants. And just pardon me for a second because I got to have them start bringing out your treats, your samples. We're ready for buckwheat. So he's going to come out with buckwheat. And then here, yes, these are some of those carrots. They're purple, they're yellow, and they're also orange. So I'm going to put some of that in here. This little saucepan isn't going to hold everything. And then my favorite part, this is your health insurance right here, right here. A clove of garlic, right? Fresh garlic, don't get the dried stuff, don't get the powdered stuff, don't get the jarred stuff. Just go buy a little, or grow your own little clove of garlic. This is my ancient garlic press. And then you can just press some of that in there. 1 or 2 cloves will do nicely when you're feeding yourself as well as some other folks. I didn't get the proper little motion going here. And then what you'll see before you, and the sample should start coming out, is you have this, I call it like a veggie confetti, right? You have a myriad of colors in your plate, texture, nutrition. It's a meal in a bowl, or shall I say, a meal on a plate. I've designed a series of vegan plates, and this one has some just positive affirmations. It's BPA free, it's durable, and I designed them. I'm a little proud of them, but maybe not too proud. But if you're interested in these little vegan plates, no. The only reason it's like nobody has vegan plates. I think, you go to your potluck or whatever, it's like, you just buy this, make a donation of this. It helps support the outreach that we do, and especially the outreach coming here. So stop by the table if you're interested. I have different colors. Yes?
Why is it not advisable to use the garlic in the jar?
To me, it has already oxidized. If you taste the jarred versus the fresh, first of all, the taste just isn't there. And also, we all know there's nothing like the freshness and nutrition that can be offered in a fresh, whole product versus one that's already been chopped up. I know what this garlic looks like. There's no brown spots. It's fresh. That's just my own personal, a little bit of a sided opinion of it. But hopefully that helps you. I just find it's better that way. And also, thank you. And Aunt Hannah also said there's usually some preservatives added. And you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that people who say they can't handle garlic, it's typically that jarred garlic. Yeah, you can almost smell it in people when it's coming out of their pores. It's usually some sort of adulterated form of the garlic. If they use the fresh garlic, usually your body can process it better. There's none of that stinky, garlic, I can't have that, my breath is going to smell. Usually people's bodies can assimilate better. That's what I found most important. Yes, Marlene?
If you have a tablespoon of chopped up parsley,
Yes.
after you eat your fresh garlic, they won't know you had garlic.
That's right, and she's an expert. She would know. She's saying, eat that parsley. I'm hoping kale might help in that salve. Maybe not. Parsley's your friend, guys, so you can put it in the eat your spoon of garlic. parsley afterwards if you are interested in having garlic-free bread. So, I think, is that something you guys going to make your own buckwheat now, maybe, sort of? Is that something you can do? I just love the versatility of this, and I put there just as an aside, of course you can serve it warm, you can serve it room temperature as you have before you today, or my favorite, cashew cream. Oh yes, you take your cashews, some water, some more seasoning, and blend it up. You can have just a little bit of creaminess if that's your style, but it really doesn't, it can stand alone on its own. Woo, I got to hustle here. I've been yakety yak. Now, for the finale, we got to have treats, right? Harvest dinner favorites. Because what's life without a little treat? Now, my husband, I've said it before, he's a chocoholic. He has his own cabinet devoted to chocolate. I think Ray Cooper might appreciate that comment. So let's move along here. If there are no additional questions concerning the buckwheat, I'm just going to put this over here.
All the other ingredients were raw.
That's a good point. You could use them raw. I think I partially cooked the carrot. Let's see. The kale should be raw. Garlic's raw. I think I also used some bell pepper, lightly steamed. It's just your personal preference. That's what I want. I just want to encourage you guys just to, go with your gut. That's really all you have in life, right? Think about it. Really think about what you're putting in your mouth, and make certain it's approved by you, because you and you alone have that choice. I want you to exercise that freedom of choice. So, buckwheat, goodbye. And now we got to welcome Crispy Cacao Delight Bites. I like saying that. So, Patricia, what's going on here with this dish? Well, I wanted something crispy. Yes, there's a gazillion million little power balls, millennial balls, whatever kind of balls there are out there. You can all, there's little treats, and they're all soft, real good whole foods. I wanted something a little crispier. So here it is. It's just puffed up brown rice. So it still has the outer coating. It's still nutritionally available. It's just puffed up and a little crispy, and I like it. This particular manufacturer is Air One. They do natural foods. You might have seen. I'm only just showing you this so you can recognize it in the store if you want to go out there. So growing up, I never really thought I would like a Rice Krispie treat, as they call it, or whatever. I always thought that's just a waste. Why bother? But this is something worth noting. So we want to take 4 cups of brown rice puffs. And I've already pre-measured this. And guess what? These little vapor-proof cereal bags that they come in, these are the best things. Any campers out here, backpackers? You guys probably already know that. These things are vapor-proof. You put all the stuff that you want to keep dry. If you want to reuse your little cereal bags, these are fantastic. I always save them. And typically I'm not a saver, but these are just nice things to have. And thank you. Yes. So that's the Air One is the manufacturer of this particular, because it's brown rice. There's no added sugar, no added anything. It's just the puffed brown rice. Yes. And yes. This one didn't. This is a natural food component. So it's a trade-off on what you want. If you want to avoid that, you can always just steam up your own organic rice. It's just not going to have that little crunchy, chewy texture to it. So what else? Oh, yes. Let's talk about the good stuff that gets added to it. Now, in your samples, you're going to have some almond butter. I love almond butter. I never thought I could really like almond butter, but I like it. And it's very versatile, neutral flavor. So I just use natural almond butter. Nothing so, with flavors or sugars added to it. And I like to use a device like this. This is typically a funnel, for those who may not yet have learned, is the most accurate. If you want to get accurate about your measuring devices, a funnel will be the best for liquid measurement. Not that almond butter's liquid. But I wanted to quickly mention, because you might look and measure your water, and it might look like it's 1 cup here. However, if you put it on the table and you look, and then you see it's not 1 cup at all. So it's always best, if you want to be measuring for accuracy, this is a funnel, or any funnel will work. It also has the measuring. And then this particular one acts as I guess a funnel, like I said, so you can pour stuff in. Yes, I know. And so, I got an over. They're gonna yank me off stage. So here, I got a. Thank you, Harlan. And so, coconut sugar. I left it at the table. It's the raw coconut crystals. Hey, you can't complain. It's raw, low glycemic, hand processed, good for you, ain't gonna make you crazy sugar sweetener. And then that cacao powder. Once again, it's one of those power foods. Why not? It just has so many micronutrients in it. And also copper. It has those micronutrients that we don't often get in our diet. And I also have, well, what did I do with my little cacao? Oh, here, I measured out. Cacao powder and, yes, please. And they're going to start handing out because I'm going over. So, cacao powder, coconut sugar in here. And what you want to do is just mix it up. You can mix it by hand. You can shake it up. And now you have Cocoa Puffs, right? And so you can stop right there and then add your peanut or almond butter. And this one I did use peanut butter. And here's the surprise ingredient. Pumpkin or butternut squash. Yes, it doesn't get any better than having vegetable for dessert. And you know what? It's autumn, so you're going to have all this food around most likely. Just, make certain it's pureed or soft. Squish it up. You can squish it up in a bag. But ideally what you would do is put it in this pan, let it get a little melty. And then when it gets melty, you just want to pour it over your Krispies. And what you want to do is, this is some parchment paper. Use that instead of foil and anything that you don't want to have stick on your stuff. So it's a little sticky, it's a little gummy. And then you just pour your Krispies in there, mix it all up, pat it all down, and then you can take it to your next event. I think I'm finished here. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please see me outside. And don't forget these fantastic hand-designed vegan plates. Also, I have the stuff I'm not going to take if any of you guys want any of this stuff to go home. Oh, if your little bites don't stick together, there's also brown rice syrup you can use. I didn't want to use that today. Or there's something called date syrup. You can make it at home. You soak your dates with some water, blend it up, and it's sticky. And it'll help your stuff stick. So thank you again for your attention. Hope to see you again. Take care. I got to get up and go. So I got some